Thanks for joining me. My name is Doug Wick. I'm the Director of Product Management here at Digby. We're here to talk a little bit about mobile personalization and the trend toward one-to-one customer engagement. So feel free to ask questions as we go by using the chat function on the bottom right hand of the WebEx screen. If there's something about some content that we're covering at the time, I'll try to answer those questions as they come up. If I happen to miss it, I will definitely get to all the questions at the end. I certainly don't have enough slides to fill a whole hour because I wanted to leave some time for Q&A, and we already have a couple questions that have come in early on. We will get to everybody's questions before the hour's over. Okay, first, to start out with, a word about Digby and who we are. Digby is a company that's been around for about 6 or 7 years, and we've been helping brands and retailers accelerate cross-channel convergence with mobile for that entire time. Early on, we were partnering with retailers to help extend their e-commerce presence to mobile, both by helping them build out mobile websites and mobile apps. And over the last 3 or 4 years, we've actually focused more on helping retailers and retail brands and brands in general engage with their customers through mobile in the physical world, so that focusing on that interaction between the real world and what's going on somebody's mobile device. Right now, we're focused on our technology platform called Localpoint, and the purpose of Localpoint as a location-based analytics and marketing platform is to help retailers and retail brands send the right message to the right person, right time, right place with the right value. Okay, so we're here to talk about personalization, and mobile, I would say, is one of those places where personalization is particularly important. Our mobile devices are the center of our communication universe now. My smartphone is. I think anybody who has a smartphone quickly realizes that between phone calls and texts and app use and browser, it has everything that you need, and it is kind of the center of your world. I think you don't quite realize that as painfully as when you drop your phone and it breaks, or you lose your phone, or somebody steals your phone, then you go into a communications tailspin. I think that when brands participate on that mobile device, because it is so personal and it's kind of a companion to you, you have an expectation of that brand that they will make their communication with you very personalized, very one-to-one, and feel like it's like they're referring to you and giving you things that are just for you, either from a customer service perspective or a marketing perspective. I think some of the stats here and studies here from Cinquera and Forbes bear out that expectation in a market research way. And so I think that if you embark upon mobile messaging to an audience and you don't personalize, you run the risk of people choosing not to engage with you, either leaving you bad reviews, uninstalling your app altogether, and once you lose that presence on the device, you might not get it back very easily. So here's a slide that describes how we think about personalization at Digby. And this is kind of a personalization maturity model you can think of. So the bottom of this model is what we call broadcast, and we call it broadcast because it's the idea of sending the same message to your entire audience the way a TV commercial might. It's not personalized, but it can be a good starting point for generating app engagement. So somebody downloads your app, they have it on their device, They play with it a little bit after an initial, after downloading it, and then they might not re-engage with the app for a while. And doing some messaging, even if it's very infrequently, say once every month or once every couple weeks, helps people remember that that app is there, gives them an opportunity to rediscover that app and use it again and get more utility out of it. So while I just said that personalization is very important, it is also very important to have your app say something to your audience. If you don't do that, then your app will be forgotten as they download newer apps and start to use them. So as you kind of going beyond broadcast and getting into personalized messages, this next layer up is there's a branch where you go into location-aware personalization and profile-based personalization. Now, first of all, location-aware personalization. This is something that's very, very unique to mobile, and it's something that we focused a lot on in building our product. Localpoint is helping brands do this, helping a brand message based on where someone is at a particular time, and that means using their phone to figure out where they are in the world and responding to their arrival at that place, their departure from that place, and even their history of places they've been. So this is real-time location-based personalization. This can be very powerful, specifically for retailers around their stores and for other brands around their places of business. Having your app know or understand when your customer is in one of your stores or is interacting with your product or service, that's a key thing to know, and to have your app respond in kind. On the other side of the coin, we have something that's more akin to traditional segmentation, which is profile-based personalization. This is targeting a group of people based on common attributes or common behavior. So do they live in a particular area? Are they men or women? What age are they? What are they interested in? This is your more standard segmentation and is based on who they are. So you have when and where on the left side, and you have who on the right side. And at the top of this framework is what we call one-to-one, which actually takes into account not only when and where someone is, but also who they are. So taking into account their location and their profile, and understanding specifically who that individual is, what they've done, and where they are right now, and picking the absolute best message for them at that moment. So I'm going to go through each one of these pieces on the framework, and so I'm going to start with location first. Most of our customers, when they start to do location-based personalization, they start with their stores or their places of business. Now, for a retailer, it's their store. For a rental car agency, it could be their desks at the airport. For airlines, it could also be airports, hotels. It's their hotel property. Sports and entertainment venues, it's their actual venue. But this is typically the first place that people start is, I want to start customizing messaging based on whether someone's in my place of business or not. From there, from the place of business, this kind of extends out into the world and also into the store. So this is a slide that we use to describe how our product helps people understand the whole customer journey, understand where someone is as they go through this journey, and be able to message them based on where they are in this journey, from the community out where they live, into the place of business, and even down to the individual product display and point of sale. So there's different technologies that help you understand where someone is, from, if you look across the bottom here, from cell tower triangulation to GPS to Wi-Fi detection to Bluetooth or iBeacon interaction. These are things that help you kind of understand where someone is in their customer journey and be able to message them according to that. So that was a little bit about location. I think, again, location is the thing that's very unique about mobile. You don't run into that in direct mail or email or other places where you're doing direct marketing. Mobile has a very, because it's always with the consumer and you can always reach out to them through their mobile device, it has a very unique capability to capitalize on location-based personalization. So it's certainly an area to explore. Moving across from location-based personalization, let's talk about profile-based personalization. So usually when our customers start with profiles and want to start to segment people, they start with preferences. So this is a screenshot from one of our customers' devices, Cabela's. And in their app, they have the ability for somebody to, and Cabela's, for those of you who aren't familiar with them, they're a very, very large outfitter for camping, hunting, fishing, general outdoors activities. And in their app, you can actually tell them what outdoor activities you're interested in. So you see archery, you see clothing, saltwater fishing, big game hunting, all kinds of things here that people can tell Cabela's that they're interested in. Cabela's lets you record these preferences, and then they will use that to message specific people about events that are going on in their area, events that are going on in store, offers specific to those product categories. These are things that I think this is a great place to start if you're looking to get attributes from your customers and use it to segment your messaging. There's some other ideas here along the right. What's your favorite store location? When's your birthday? People like to give their birthday because they know that marketers will tend to give them a gift on their birthday in the form of a special offer. Favorite product categories, favorite types of offers. Do they like cash off offers? Do they like product specific offers? And other brand relevant facts. So I think when you're thinking about segmenting your audience, you have to start to think about things that have to do with that specific retailer. For instance, in the Cabela's app, what you might do is ask somebody what their favorite national park is. And that could be something that really tells you a lot about what they like to do and where they live and where they like to go. And that could be a useful attribute to know about. Kohl's is one of our other customers, and they might do something like, who's your favorite designer, or what's your favorite style? What would you call your style? Those are things that if you know that about someone, then you can, again, customize the way you talk to them. So these are asking for attributes is a great place to start, and you can get very creative in the way that you learn about your customers and personalize based on that. The second place where we usually recommend folks go is by adding in behaviors. And whereas attributes, you should ask your customers. Sometimes even if you know something about them, you should ask them anyway, because when they give you that information, they're a lot more comfortable with you using it. If you got that information from somewhere else, for instance, their gender or something you could have gotten from a third-party service, sometimes that can feel a little creepy when they didn't tell you that and you somehow learned it anyway. So it's good to ask for attributes. For behaviors, customers know that you're watching them use their app, and if they've given you permission to access their location, then they'll know that you're watching their location, and that you know when they go. They'll know that when you go to stores and what you're doing, and so listening for behaviors is a great way to also personalize, and that can be a location history, where they've gone and where they've shopped. It could be something having to do with their lifestyle. So are they a frequent traveler? Do they go to airports a lot? Do they go to NFL games or NBA games a lot? Do they go to a lot of concerts? Do they have hobbies? Like, do they play golf a lot? These are things that you can know based on their location history. Also, you can start to pay attention to how they react to different messages. So what's their campaign history? Which offers did they open? Which opens or which offers generated a physical visit to the store, which is something that we help our customers understand. Which offers did they redeem? What features in the app are they using? If there's a barcode scanner in the app, are they using that barcode scanner? We've seen a very definitive line between people that scan barcodes and people that don't. It's a pretty definitive line, and you can segment people based on their proclivity to do that. But you can also watch other things that they do in the app and what features they use and how often they use them, and have that be a way that helps you personalize. The final thing I think we get into is moving to a more omnichannel look, which means starting to add the information that you're getting from mobile, either by asking or listening, by integrating with other systems. This can be your point of sale system, where you're understanding their transaction history, what have they bought in stores, your e-commerce system, what have they browsed and what have they bought online. What's their loyalty program status? If you have a loyalty program, are they gold, silver, platinum level? Are they, has it been a while since they've earned a reward in your loyalty program? If so, these are things that you can start to know and start to message them based on that. There's a lot of different systems, and most of our customers are trying to move to omnichannel at a very a global level across their enterprise. But mobile is a great way to stimulate that activity, because mobile is that always on, always present channel for you. It can be the place where this data really starts to serve you, because you can react to things that are going on, maybe in store or online, and and access that customer anytime. So omnichannel and mobile are things I think that go hand in hand. So just a quick review for personalization with profiles: asking for attributes, listening for behaviors, and integrating are kind of the three main points to remember when you're trying to figure out who someone is or learn about what are their characteristics. Layering that on with location-based activity, where are they at a particular time, is very powerful. So let's look at an example of a segment that you might develop and how that works. This is Susan. She is a shoe loyalist. So she loves shoes, and she's also very loyal to your brand. So this is our Localpoint console. This is the kind of web-based app that our customers use to build profiles. So you'll notice along the right side, on the right side, this is just a sample customer. This isn't an actual customer. These are the attributes and profiles in our system are typically our customers like to keep that to themselves for sure, because it's definitely a strategic part of their marketing. So these are just some sample attributes that you might have determined that you want to pay attention to about your users. So favorite product category might be one, gender, loyalty status, purchase frequency, and barcode scanner. And you'll notice that this is a mixture of asking, listening, and integrating. There's some things that you'd have to ask for. There's others here that you'd have to listen to, like barcode scanning activity, and others like loyalty status that you'd probably have to go to an outside system to get. So these attributes get established, and then you create a profile based on those attributes. So you'll notice the profile name is Shoe Loyalist, and then there's a couple rules here. One is their favorite product category is shoes, and their loyalty status is platinum. So they have a high loyalty score, and then a favorite product category of shoes. A combination of those two rules will define somebody like Susan who fits this profile. So another thing about profiles and the reasons why they should be based on rules is that people change, and so should the profiles, the contents of a profile. So these are some fairly sophisticated examples of how someone's behavior might change. But it could be something as simple as, let's say Susan is no longer a platinum member of your loyalty program. She has not shopped enough, or she hasn't been to the store in a while, and so she drops down to gold level, or she wouldn't fit that profile anymore. So if you had developed a campaign specifically to target those shoe loyalists, then at some point Susan might get those messages, and at another point she shouldn't, simply because she doesn't pass the same bar for the rules that you've established. But you can be very subtle in the way that these profiles change, and you can set them up to react to things like this. So let's say when her last 4 visits have been dress and sweater purchases, or when her last 3 visits have been at a new location, or down here at the bottom when she fills out a positive store survey on her smartphone. These are all things that you can pay attention to and have them be part of your profile rules, and therefore if you have a long-running campaign that addresses those people, it will address the right people. But I think you have to think of a profile as a bucket, and sometimes people are in that bucket and sometimes they aren't, based on the rules that you've set up. Okay, so this is the most complicated slide, and it's very colorful in the deck. But we're arriving now is at the top of the diamond diagram I showed you at the beginning of the webcast, and the ultimate in personalization, and this is one-to-one. This is an example of a way that many of our customers, and I think retailers in general, are approaching one-to-one personalization from a systems perspective. So going from the top left and kind of around clockwise to the bottom left, an example of how you might personalize for someone is Localpoint detects a location entry into a store. So somebody walks into the store with your smartphone, with your app on that phone. Step 2 is the retail app knows that that person just walked into the store and asks, in the back end, asks a personalization system, what is the best offer for this person at this place at this time? Again, it's the who, where, and when scenario. You know those 3 pieces of information. You're using it to ask your personalization system, what should I send? What message should I send this person right now? Personalization system, and this is the ideal personalization system, right? It's the personalization system that has visibility across the entire enterprise. So it gets to look at the data from the e-commerce system and from the point of sale system and loyalty system, CRM, and it gets to factor in the location analytics that Localpoint has grabbed. Taking that all into account, it determines the best offer or the best message for that person at that time and place. And then it uses Localpoint to send that message back up to the device in step 4. That personalized message gets sent back up into the device. So the thing that is of note here is that when you're doing one-to-one messaging, the user at some point had to tell you specifically who they are. They had to give you their loyalty card number or their email address that allows you to cross-reference a lot of these other systems. They will have had to raise their hand and say exactly who they are. And I think this kind of gets to a more subtle point in personalization, which is in order to personalize, you have to have gotten that person into a place where they're willing to share information with you. They're willing to fill out that preferences screen, or they're willing to opt into location services on their mobile device, or they're willing to raise their hand and plug in their loyalty ID number into your app so that you know that it's them. And so I think that what you have to do is think about getting someone from the bottom of that chart at broadcast up to the top by encouraging them and even incentivizing them to share information with you. And I mean, you can almost view this chart as a map of a trust map, because at the bottom, somebody doesn't trust you enough to give you any information, then you're going to be limited to broadcasting to them. But as they share more information with you from the bottom up to the top, you'll be able to serve them a lot better. So I think you have to incent them to go from the bottom to the top, but then you also have to fulfill that promise that if you ask for this data, you're in a place to react to it. So here's a few recommendations about personalization and how to react to this diamond. First of all, you have to personalize at all levels. I think that you will always have people who trust you implicitly and are willing to tell you exactly who they are, and you can serve them at the highest level at the top here. But then you'll have people who really don't trust this whole location services thing, or they don't want you to know anything about their preferences, and you'll always be limited to broadcasting to them. And then you'll have people that fall everywhere in between. So I don't think you can think of this as a what stage is my messaging in. There's an element of maturity to that you have to work through on your own as a brand, but you will always have to engage in the level of personalization that's kind of behind you. So let's say you're doing some really cool location-based messaging. You'll still have to send broadcasts because not everybody's going to tell you where they are or allow you to do gather location data on them. And so that's an important thing to realize. Tied with that is not to wait for perfection. I've consulted with a couple brands who really wanted to get to this one-to-one messaging nirvana and really weren't willing to engage in much messaging until they got there. Well, the reality is it's going to take you a very, very long time to integrate all of those back-end systems to have that information available to do one-to-one messaging. And even when you have all that integration done, not everybody's going to tell you exactly who they are. So you'll have to engage them at a level that they're willing to engage you at. And then finally, incent your customers. I mentioned this already. Incent them to share information with you. And then when they do share the information, make sure that you use it to personalize for them. Okay, so a bit more tactically, how do you start in personalization? First of all, start with broadcast and move up the spectrum. As I mentioned, you're always going to have to broadcast. That doesn't mean broadcast frequently. Don't broadcast every day. Broadcast once a month or once every couple weeks based on how comfortable you think your user base is with being hit with messages. And messages that aren't personal, you have to be very careful. But you need to get good at broadcasting and understanding what the most effective broadcast messages are. So start there. The second recommendation here is think about where you are personalizing today. Look across your entire marketing mix and look at the places where you are really targeting a specific group of people. Most brands that I talk to have personas that they're targeting. It's a mixture of a shotgun approach, which is kind of a what do I put in my 30-second spot, and then a series of very targeted direct marketing efforts, be they through direct mail or really specific media buys on specific websites or TV channels. There's typically 3 to 4 personas, or maybe 5 that a brand is really trying to get to. How do you map those personas to mobile? What do you think their mobile behavior is? What can you ask an app user about themselves that will help you put them in one of those personas? And then once you do, what promotional materials or marketing materials can you take advantage from your other channels to target those people in mobile? So try to get mobile synced up with the rest of your marketing mix. Find those high-value personas on mobile and use mobile to become the most valuable way for you to message with them. And this is all without creating anything new. From there, start to name your attributes. Think about the places where you can push personalization that gets beyond what you're doing in other channels. What do you need to learn about mobile users to connect to existing marketing, and then what else can you learn about them to push personalization even further? And then I guess finally, think about service. As you establish or are trying to mature your app user, it's very tempting to just push offers or just do things that are selfish and have some ROI for the money that you've spent on the app. But you have to remember that in any communications channel that's new, be it Twitter or Facebook, there are other channels that are brand new where people aren't used to communicating with you, and a mobile app could be one of those. You have to earn the right to communicate with them through that channel. It has to be valuable to them. So it can't just be all about marketing. It has to also be about service, and what customer service messages can you send along with marketing to balance that mixture between things that are in it for you and things that are in it for your app users. And so I think these are a few things to keep in mind and places to start as you're starting to message and personalize. And I would love to see if anybody wants to offer any more that they know. If we have any experts on the webinar, feel free to offer those in chat. I can also kind of share that with the group. Okay, so one final little plug, if before we get to Q&A. If you like what you've heard here, if I said a couple smart things during the past 40 minutes, feel free to check out our location-based marketing playbook. It's probably not quite as long-winded as I am, which is probably a good thing, but it's full of kind of useful information in terms of how to approach location specifically and personalization as a whole. Okay, so question and answer. Let's see. Okay, we've been, first of all, an apology. I guess we've been notified that some attendees have not been able to use chat, so there's a possibility we can't see your questions. I'm sorry about that. I recommend you send us an email. You can send me an email at dwick, DWICK, with your questions if we don't get to them. I have a few here that I'll cover now, but please feel free, if you have questions, to email me directly after the webcast, and I will do my best to answer the questions via email. Okay, so all right, so we have a few here. These were submitted. We've got a few here that were submitted while we were here, and then some that got emailed to us as well. Okay, first thing is consumer privacy. This question comes up almost every time. How can retailers ensure their customers that a customer profiles feature is not a violation of their privacy? This is something that, like I said, comes up frequently. It comes up especially when it comes to location data. The thing that I think there's two layers of privacy that you have to pay attention to. The first is kind of the what can I do layer, which means that you need to have gotten opt-in, and you need to have a clearly posted privacy policy. So if somebody is giving you information in your app, you need to say in your privacy policy in the app that you're going to use that information to message them and to segment them. And most people know that. Most people are used to marketing, and they know that when they give you data, you're going to use it. It's a bit more subtle on things like location data, because most apps, when they use location, they just use the default operating system pop-up that says, this app would like to use location services, and you say, okay, but it doesn't really give you any information about how it's going to use location services. And that's why I think you should go the extra mile in your app to have a privacy policy that clearly says what location data you're gathering and how you're going to use it. So there's this idea of opt-in. You need to make sure that every piece of information you're using, you've gotten permission from the consumer to use it. There's a second layer, though, which is a little more subtle, and it is the what should I do? There's the what can I do legally, and then there's the what should I do. And I would say the what should I do category is a little bit more restrictive. And let me give you an example of that. So if somebody gives you permission to use their location data in the app, you literally can track their location everywhere they go. If they've opted into that, you could literally track them as they wake up at home and where they live and drive their kids to school and then drive to work, and then when they go to church or where they go wherever, you could track their location at all times. You should not do that. They've opted into that, but my belief is that consumers have a more restrictive definition of what location data means, and our opinion at Digby is that the location data that you gather should be relevant to the relationship between the brand and the person. So, for instance, knowing when somebody's come into your store or when somebody's shopping, that's relevant information. When they're dropping their kids off at school, that's not relevant information, and that's not location data that you should collect or keep. We've designed our technology specifically to only pay attention to the location of the device when they are in or around something that you've designated that is an important location to you in our technology. And so that's stores, and that's shopping areas, it's public areas, things that are relevant to the brand relationship. So I think, again, I guess to summarize, there's what can I do legally, and that's don't use any information that somebody hasn't given you permission to use. And the what should I do layer, which is the kind of put yourself in your customer's shoes and think, would they be okay with me gathering this data, or would they be okay with me segmenting this data? Put your is this creepy hat on at all times, and make sure to pay attention to that as you build your strategy. Okay, so let's see. Another question. Can retailers tap into point-of-sale or loyalty program data to create profile campaigns? Yes, absolutely. I think I've mentioned that a couple times in the webcast. You should tap into these external systems if you can to build profiles in mobile. Granted, like I said, I think I mentioned how people start with profiles. They don't typically start at this level of integration, but it's a great goal to have, and certainly is very helpful to personalization when you can get a broader picture of who your app user is. Let's see, this is a good one. Can customer profiles be used to communicate directly with store employees? Yeah, so we've talked to a lot of customers, a lot of folks that want to use our technology and are starting to use it. They actually have a profile which is an employee profile. So an employee might have the retailer's app, or the retailer they work for. They could have that retail app And the retail app could actually know that that person's an employee and have an employee profile built into the campaign system. So, for instance, what you could do is as a shopper walks into, a shopper with the retail app walks into the store, you know that they walked into the store, you could trigger a message that goes out to employees that are in that store to tell them, hey, this person just walked in. And that can be done through the same app, but targeted to a profile that is just an employee profile. So again, you're actually personalizing for your employees based on who they are, where they are, and you know when it is, and they happen to be working, so that you can improve service. So that's actually a good question. That's something that comes up pretty frequently when we're talking to our customers and using this stuff for clienteling. Let's see. Okay, looks like we have I have 3 more questions here. So okay, how can customer profiles best reach those shoppers who wouldn't be considered high value or frequent shoppers? Are you finding that retailers are mostly concentrating the efforts on retaining existing high value customers? Yes. So the app, the way that we look at the app is it is kind of like the next generation loyalty card. So when somebody downloads a retailer's app, say they download the Kohl's app or the Cabela's app or any other app, that's a pretty big act of loyalty. They're already showing that they're a loyal customer and willing to find out what's going on with that app. They clearly shop a lot at that particular retailer. So we do, through the app, mostly focus on those high-value customers. Those loyal customers also tend to be high value. But there are other apps which I think are better for, I guess, brand-interested shoppers. So I would say somebody who downloads an app is a brand-loyal customer. There are others that are kind of brand-interested customers, a little less, maybe not quite loyal enough to download the app yet, but getting there. And we actually have a whole category of customer at Digby that uses Localpoint. We call them aggregators, and these are apps that feature a wide range of retailers and brands, and these are shoppers who care enough about shopping that they'll download a deals app, but then in that app they'll typically designate who their favorite brands are. So I always think that on mobile you have to invest in your own branded app because you need to address that hardcore loyal center of your customer base that buys an outsized amount of product from you. You know, the average purchase frequency and size from those people is off the charts compared to the normal buyer or normal shopper for your brand. However, you should also do business and have some activity going on in these aggregator apps like FlySmart or Shop at Home, or you know, there's a number of them out there where you can have offers that are getting distributed to a shopper who's brand interested and might become a brand loyalist. So I would invest in that whole spectrum to get the high value frequent shoppers and get people that might become those high value frequent shoppers. Okay, a couple more questions. How detailed or granular can customer profiles get with attributes? They can get as detailed or granular as you want. In fact, there's a real danger here that I think I'm glad this question was asked, because there is this idea of over-segmentation. So one pilot we ran with a brand who was interested in what they did was they actually targeted, they didn't have many customers that had downloaded their app yet. It was a few thousand. And they wanted to target people in a particular city that were going to a particular concert at that city. So they actually used Localpoint to target concert goers at this one concert in this one city for an app that only had a few thousand users. And guess what? They never sent the message. No one walked into that concert with the app, as luck would have it. And so there is this dark side of personalization, which is what I call over-targeting. It's this, I got too granular with targeting. I had all these attributes. I built all these rules, and I kind of targeted myself out of an audience because either I was so targeted that no one met the profile, or very few people met the profile. So I think when you're building your attributes and you're building your profiles, you have to really focus on what you think the most valuable attributes are. What are the things that determine value as a customer, and what are the top 5 that you really want to know, and start there. And then you know, platforms like Localpoint can tell you how many people fit that profile. So we can help you get to the right level of targeting. But I think that's important, is not to be over-targeted and not to get so granular that you're investing all this money to build a marketing campaign that no one sees. Okay, last question. Can you measure how a specific profiles campaign impacted store traffic? Yes. So this is something that's very interesting that you can do is, let's say you build 5 different profiles of, you know, these valuable kind of personas that you're targeting as a mobile app user. And then you send a broadcast campaign. You send the same campaign to all of them. You can actually measure, you know, how many people opened that campaign from each one of those profiles, and then how many of those people actually went to a store after opening that offer. And you can see how you impacted different profiles. That's something that can be done, and it's a very powerful way to understand how your messaging is impacting different target audiences. That measuring of store traffic is an interesting pairing of location analytics with location-based messaging. We're using analytics to find out if somebody went to the store, and then we're linking that back to a campaign that got sent. So that I think that's the last question I have. Are there any others come up? Let's see. Checking my email. Nope. I must have either put everybody to sleep or I answered all of your questions, and there are no further questions about mobile personalization. Thank you very much to everyone for attending. Feel free to follow up with me via email, dwick@digby.com, if you have any other questions or just want to talk. Thanks for stopping by our webcast, and please watch your email and our website to please download our playbook, but then also watch our email list and our website for future webinars and webcasts. We appreciate it. Bye.